following podcast is recorded and produced by Emerge, a media creators co-op, in affiliation with the network at bicbb-radio.com.
Welcome back. It's your boy Stens. It's been a while. Last recording I think we did was a couple weeks before Christmas with Jamie Hoka, but we brought back our resident Pat McAfee, Gaelan Baillie. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Let's catch up a little bit. It's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming.
I thought I was banned from the show or something.
You were blackballed for a couple months. I had to talk to some other guys and got back. Everybody agreed that you did well the first couple episodes. Good. They wanted you back.
Good.
Right. A lot of letters, actual handwritten letters came in the mail. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Dude, there's bags like the Beetle. It was like Beatlemania. It was Baillie mania.
Perfect.
And so we caught up with that and decided to have you back because we're ready for some more.
Good.
Catch us up.
Catch you up. Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I guess, Niagara Falls is still flowing. It's still happening.
Yep. Never ends.
So, I mean, I think, for me, for the Falls, what I'm working on is a project that I've never worked on quite before. I mean, I'm a very entrepreneurial person, but I guess I could put onto the resume, I'm a filmmaker. I'm working on a film, a documentary about Niagara Falls.
That's huge.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
Start from
piece.
Start from the origin and walk us along to explain that because that's a big jump.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't want to call it a pet project, but it's something I've always been interested in. I've gone to school for journalism. I was very involved in a lot of creative writing. I always wanted to write screenplays for movies. I actually wanted to move out west and actually write movies. It was always that's what I wanted to do when I first graduated high school. But
similar thoughts myself.
It was a long time ago. But it's kind of funny that this has come around, this opportunity to make a documentary about Niagara Falls, and it has been a lot of people think when you're making a documentary about Niagara Falls, what is this going to be about? He's going to be bashing the city, or what is this project? And
or the history.
The history, and it's be a very focused documentary about kind of showcasing the lack of equity and fairness that we've been treated by the state of New York. I feel like there's a really weird story that needs to be really a very unfair story of how the state of New York kind of came in and swooped in and stole the entire city's waterfront, took control of a river, used it for their own wealth and greatness of Albany and the rest of the state, and meanwhile Niagara Falls just declines. It's just a very bizarre thing that you could have a city situated where it is with a waterfall, beautiful upper rivers, beautiful gorge,
world landmark.
Yeah, I mean a famous name, and it could be as deteriorated and run down as it is. And something I've been obviously researching, living here, running a business, running into things my whole life here, seeing why is this place the way it is? That was the premise. What is going on here?
Politics. I mean,
it was old politics.
That's what comes to mind for me as someone on the sideline looking in.
Yeah.
Not investigating or educated as deep as you are now with that, because you started film. But
there's a lot of old politics.
I'd say old politics in the old way just has been carried on generation after generation. Or
I think there's a the documentary is not going to focus on it, but obviously it's not going to be we're clueless to it. But there is definitely a cultural thing in the city of Niagara Falls of this attitude of that's just the way it's always been. Mm-hmm. So that's just the way it's going to continue being, and people just kind of accept that.
Right.
Here, and
that's how my parents did it.
Yeah, and I just I'm not one that kind of accepts it that way. So I've always kind of tried to dig in deeper of what is really happening. And obviously you have a city level of politics, and you could say, well, the old guard. I always hear about the old guard, whatever.
Yeah, well,
whatever that is.
Old politics. I just said
and
same thing.
I mean that's part of the story.
They're dying off.
But the real story is, and you have that part, but the real story is the lack of funding for the city, the property tax that's been taken from the city. I mean, when you have a government like the state of New York come in and swoop in and steal your whole entire waterfront.
How is it stolen?
Well, so what happened in a quick history lesson was,
We've got time. Take your time now.
well, it's a long story.
Slow down. We're all here listening. People are listening on headphones. Tell the
it
yarn.
all starts in 1956. It really does. So in 1956, this major event happened in Niagara Falls where the Shokoff power plant collapses into the lower gorge.
And we'll put some pictures up of that as you're talking.
So for most people don't know what the Shokoff power plant, very close to the Rainbow Bridge, pretty much where cross from the aquarium along the gorge was this old power plant. Mm-hmm. And there was a canal that ran through downtown Niagara Falls from the upper river that fed this power plant. And that power plant at the time paid 40% of the entire city's budget was on that power plant's property tax. So that property generated a lot of revenue.
Because of the space along the gorge.
The space, its value. You know what it was, what it was worth. Right. It's like a house. In a house you have a nice house on a piece of property, but if you got a mansion, you got all this stuff, somebody comes and assesses your property and says, well, it's worth this. That power plant was worth a lot. Mm-hmm. It paid, like I said, 40% of the city's budget in the 50s and prior to that. So that thing collapses. It had a major, water was leaking behind the gorge. Some catastrophic thing happened. It collapsed. So what ended up happening was when that collapsed, because of the shortage of power, the federal government actually commissioned the state of New York to come in and build a power plant. And the state of New York put at the helm of this Robert Moses, who was this guy that came in and built a lot of parkways. He's actually a really terrible human being.
I was going to say douchebag.
And
everything I've heard, read, even his face is like instant douche.
He's terrible guy.
Yes.
He comes in and he basically they built this power plant from 1958 to 1962, the Robert Moses power plant, as we know to this day. And when they came in, they bought eminent domains, stole land. They stole land from the Tuscarora Native American Reservation. Yeah. Because they used to have land right up to the Niagara Gorge. That's where you see the power plant.
Yes.
And the basically the
displaced
the reservoir.
Yeah.
That was on Native American land.
Yep. They
built the Robert Moses Parkway. Some of the land along there they bought privately from private, or they forced to buy the property. Some of it they eminent domained. And they basically took the entire waterfront from the Interstate 190 when you come off.
Grand Island.
Yep, come off there, off Grand Island. You have the Robert Moses Parkway, the Scenic Parkway you call it now. Runs all the way down, empties into the state park. Then from the state park, that land there eventually I believe was transferred over to the state park because they own the land from the park all the way to Devil's Hole. And then you have, once again, the power plant.
The state park owns all the way over.
The Niagara Gorge. It owns the whole entire gorge there.
The Thomas Welch influence there.
Yeah, and before that, you've heard of the I believe it's called the Buttery elevators.
Yeah, Buttery, yep.
That was all privately owned
Lou
property.
Buttery is a descendant.
Yeah.
You ever meet Lou Buttery?
No.
Oh, okay. Good
Well, that whole area along the gorge is all private property at one time. And when you have private property, people pay property tax, right? We all pay property tax if you own a house.
Right.
Even if you rent, you're paying to somebody that's paying property tax.
Gorge side property.
Right? Yeah.
Like.
So you have the state come in and completely take over the waterfront and valuable property that would pay a pretty penny, to the city. And you have a city now that is pretty much totally underfunded. Everyone, I feel bad for a lot of people, city council, the beatings they take from, the public. Sometimes it's deserved, sometimes it's not deserved.
Right.
But, I mean, when you have crumbs, you can't really fix all the problems the city has when it's running on fumes. Right. You can't fix potholes. You can't fix sidewalks. You can't cut down dead trees. You can't fix the lights. You can't invest in economic development. You can't build community centers. You can't get the pools open. You can't fix baseball diamonds when you're running on fumes.
Keep going.
And that's what the city runs on. It's straight fumes.
Right.
It's what it runs on.
Yeah.
I mean, in the city budget, 80% of the city budget goes to employee costs, firefighters, police officers, DPW workers, City Hall workers, to pensions, to healthcare, and healthcare is obviously astronomical right now. But so it gives you 20% left for disposable income to fix the city.
Right.
Well, that money that's not enough to fix all the problems.
Landmark city on the globe.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the state of New York says it cares about Niagara Falls, but I mean, it doesn't show. I mean, how are we driving on roads that literally look like they're bombed out, or we have lighting problems that are just basic lighting problems, or we have all these issues
so much
that are I mean, there's so many issues, they just add up to where they become a giant mess. So what do you fix first, what don't you fix? It's like
on pennies.
It's collapsing on pennies. Like,
and we're the host
city,
and we're on the fringe. And if you wanted to walk 5 minutes or drive 10 minutes or 15, 20 into the city, you would be disappointed. In many ways.
Oh yeah, many ways.
I mean,
disappointed might be frightened. Some of these areas
well,
you're
depending
walking
if you take a left or a right off of the 190 getting in, if you were to take a right and go down Buffalo Ave that way, what the fuck? What's going on? You take a left, you hit the casino area, or you're on John Daly, I'm saying, and you take a left. You're hitting the tourist area, but
go to the right.
Even don't look straight ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't go straight or take a quick straight into. I mean, it's definitely.
I mean, the tourism district. There's not enough money. And I sat on tourism advisory board. I've had plenty of meetings with city council members. Several years back, and every issue was always about funding.
Right.
Funding. There's not enough funding. There's not enough funding. Even now, they're going to sit here on city council. There's a group that wants a park and a community center in the north end. Makes sense. The city needs a new DPW building. They need to protect their equipment. Makes sense. We should be able to have both.
50-50.
There's so much money in this
area
equal,
like you said, makes sense. Yeah. That would be Dante Miles' project, or he's a champion of that idea.
Yeah, he's a big,
And at the same time, the city needs the DPW needs.
Yeah.
Weighing one against each other. No, they both should be funded.
Should be funded. And there's enough money to fund.
It's a friendly. We're in the same boat.
Yeah, like us in the tourism district want things done, and the arguments there's no funding, but meanwhile, we know there's funding. The state of New York seems to pull money out of anywhere. The Pagulas need a new stadium. State's got the money. Right. They want to build a thing over top of the
stadium
over the Kensington Expressway.
Yeah,
they got money.
Yeah.
They want to build docks for the Maid of the Mist. They got money.
How about the rest stop on Grand Island?
That got money. What about the visitor center? The $30 million visitor center in the park. Yeah, they got money for that, but they don't have money for the things that we need. It's just I feel like gaslit for so long by the state of New York that we argue amongst ourselves on goofy things.
David versus Goliath. And you might just get disappointed and go, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'll just go with the flow because
we go with that's just
I
how
can't
it
change
is here.
anything.
It's not. It always means it's Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
What do you mean Niagara Falls? It should be great. What do you mean? Everyone laughs it off as a joke. It's because we allowed that to happen. We allowed people to gaslight us and beat us up in the media, and nobody defends the city
or settle.
Yeah,
we're gonna settle.
I mean, where else in the country can you name a city that has almost its entire waterfront
80 million people a year
taken?
Or what's the
taken from it?
8 million.
9.5 we're up to.
9.5 we're up to.
Yeah.
And really, it's what
Ghost Town
do you
City.
think? I know you have an estimate, or I know
I think it's
associates close by have estimates
that it's about 3 to 4 million.
Which is still
for the highest.
I mean, that's
we get 9.5 million.
They should just quote 4 because that's awesome in itself. I mean, you don't have to.
9.5 million visitors. They say we get. That's more than Miami Beach. And you've been to Miami Beach, or we've seen pictures at least, right? It's a lot nicer than Niagara Falls.
I'm known from Miami Beach, dude. I know everybody. Have I been to Miami Beach?
I can see you being in South Beach, just in a pastel.
Look at me, dude. You know me.
Shots,
right? Beer bongs on the beach, hell yeah! But go ahead, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm saying, I'm proud of if you have 1 million visitors, 2 million, it's.
And then that's really kind of where when I started a business here, I really thought 8 million people. That was the number at the time. 10 years ago, was 8 million people came to Niagara Falls, And just simple math on a calculator, you would say, "Wow, my God, there's 30,000 people
There
down
should
here.
be 50 people in
If
this
I can
place
get
right now.
1% of 30,000 people today, I'm gonna kill it."
Is that what it was? 30,000 people a day?
Somewhere along there. Maybe it was 20 to 30.
I've walked around for
It's not even
10
close.
years of
Joke.
when I had the hub and everything, walking around down there, and there was not
There's nobody
30,000.
down there. If you go in the wintertime, it's a straight ghost town. I think you could shoot a gun off, and nobody would even call the police.
Yeah.
No, nothing would even happen.
I've shot several times.
Really? Have you shot?
Like
We used to do a fire in the chimney, which I was always impressed by.
boop, boop. No, I wanted to. I've never
thought
done
you did that.
No, I do want to do. I
That's
do want to do
ballsy
that.
to go to this
In
historical
honor.
thing.
Let's discuss this offline.
It'd be like going into Fort
We'll
Niagara
discuss
just
this
like looking
offline.
at
I said in honor of Paul Gramosiak, I wanted it. Like, why don't they
you're
just
gonna
have
do
an
that.
actual fire with a Christmas wreath, maybe a Christmas
Yeah.
fire every year?
There
That's
you
not
go.
too. That's not. I wouldn't go gonzo and do my own. Maybe I would.
Why not?
Quick one.
Let's see if
Just
we can
dip
handle it.
or just dip in, smoke a bowl.
They say back then
Dip
things
out.
were.
That's
They
that's
said
our
things
flame.
were built to last back then. So I mean,
Yeah, it should be it's a chimney, right? They could hang a wreath and have a cool Christmas fire.
the state moved that, right? Is that why it's crooked? The state screwed that up. Too?
I don't think it's that crooked, dude. It's
It's slightly
it's a
It's old.
yeah.
It's old.
You're gonna have. I'm crooked. I'm 50. I'm crooked. Give me
You
a
gotta
break.
go to a chiropractor.
I think every brick was numbered.
No,
It's pretty
way.
cool.
Really?
Yeah, every brick's numbered and then taken apart and put back in the.
There's
the
a guy I
puzzle.
know that could move that chimney.
Everybody
one piece.
knows. Everybody knows.
One piece.
Everybody knew at the time a guy that can move a chimney for less than what they. Being
I'm
on the
making that up.
sideline of that
I don't know.
also,
I
that
don't know.
battle
I just
with
said
Paul
that.
Gramosiak and the city and historians and Johnson Crane Company and Santangelo chimney movers. I'm just making these up, but saying I could do it for 25, I could do it, and the state paid whatever
million.
thousands of that. Yes,
$1 million.
I don't know the numbers, but it's like it got moved. That's cool. It was in a
Yeah.
decrepit ass field on the side of the covered by brush. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It deserved it.
It had that random cannonball by it.
The cannon, but that's awesome. The cannon, and you ever see
Where's
the
that cannon
you ever
now?
see the original pictures of that?
No.
I'll post them as I'm talking right now. Master producer on the Wheels of Steel, Rich, will put that picture up. And
Was it a real cannonball?
Yeah,
Or
it's
cannon-
like from
a
the Spanish-American War. It was donated.
Really?
I'm pretty sure was donated. I'll find that out too. I do have
It's beautiful.
I have everything for that. It's pretty cool. I mean, it was awesome. That park, Porter Park. But then they put the Robert Moses. Let's go back to Robert Moses.
Came in and
Screw Robert Moses.
he's terrible.
I'm not afraid to say it. Come on, man.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah,
either.
he's an
terrible.
asshole. Everything I've read about him is an asshole. And then you see the pictures of him with Edent Lackey. You ever see
Yeah.
those where they're at like
Yeah.
a dinner and it looks just like two,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, what
Everything.
happened,
When I
you
was a
know?
kid, my father and uncles would call Lackey the asshole on the white horse.
Yeah. his
And he was in,
pictures-
and then you find, then as an adult, I saw pictures as, historian and like looking
Yeah.
at old pictures. He actually was on the white. I thought it was like
He was
a
on a white horse?
cliche.
Yeah,
No,
that
white
was his
suit.
big. That was his big thing.
I
He
thought,
would,
yeah.
The
yeah,
horse
like-
was bucking too, wasn't it? Bucking. He
Yeah,
takes
he's
his hat
yeah,
off.
probably
like he-
pretty
I-
badass. He
I-
was probably badass though.
I totally just forgot it, but I knew the name. The horse had a stupid name too, like, and he would ride it like at the parades and stuff.
Really?
And
I thought that was a cliche as like growing
so
up. I was like,
it's funny
he's on
because
his
the
white
one
horse.
thing that Niagara Falls and New York City have in common is we hate Robert Moses.
Yeah.
Good.
Because Robert Moses is a lot of the stuff that happened in New York City, like the throughway that goes around New York City. Think about New
crosstown
York City
Bronx.
property that was
Yeah,
lost.
right.
Like so, it's,
Divided communities.
like if do you ever? There's a movie called Motherless Brooklyn. It's a book too, and there's a character in it named Moses, and he's this jerk ass motherfucking developer. But it is totally. It's the author said it's making fun of
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah.
Moses. So like there's Edward Norton starred in the movie. He directed the movie. It's a great movie.
Oh, cool.
And I love the movie just because it makes Robert Moses look like an asshole.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, fuck
Yeah, it's,
Robert Moses. I'm not afraid to say fuck Robert Moses.
He was a real piece of shit.
Yeah, piece of
And
shit.
then the state came in and took all this property. They don't pay
Oh, yeah.
anything for it. There's no recurring revenue stream coming to the city of Niagara Falls for being a host city. Even NIPA, it's in town of Lewis, and the power plant is, yes, but the water that feeds that power plant runs right underground through the city of Niagara Falls. We have the most important part of it, the tunnels. If there were no tunnels from the upper river, from the city of Niagara Falls underneath the city to that power plant, the power project wouldn't work.
Well, that would affect town of Niagara also, right? Is that
What's that?
or Lewiston? Or
I think it touches the tunnels run through the city of Niagara Falls about 5 miles. I think the tunnel's a little bit longer than that because it would touch the town of Lewiston.
There's just a ton of property in the falls that is Power Authority land that we can't touch.
Yeah.
The high school, the new high school.
Yeah, right.
If you stand
You can see the
on
intakes.
the bleachers at a football game and you turn around and you look at the ground, that's where the tunnels are. So the high school had to be positioned in such a way so that it can't be built on top of the tunnels. So there are no permanent structures on top of the
Absolutely
tunnels,
not.
including the bleachers for the football stadium.
Yeah.
So literally
So
the
just
edge.
field
So
or
like
grass.
when you not the football field's not on the bleachers, but if you turn on the backside of the bleachers and turn around, look at the ground from that area over to like where the baseball diamonds are, and you cut across. You can see. I mean that is the
goes
straight.
it
goes
it's
right
a
through the
straight
golf
shot.
course. It goes
Yeah.
right through hole one,
Yeah.
and then you just keeps going. But like you said, most of that property is Niagara Falls property.
And how much? And it is still city property, but they basically have deemed that you can't build anything on it.
Right.
And what does the city get in return for that? How could a state come and say, "Hey, you own this land, but you can't do anything with it"?
Right.
And what do we get in return for it?
Some signature from
$0.
1950. Is there?
I don't know.
Is there deals that you
We're
don't
looking
know
into
about
that.
yet?
I mean, even if there is, then it should be.
Null and void.
Yeah, look what happened to the city.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane that this has been allowed to occur, and it's ridiculous. Look at the condition of the city. It has no funding to fix its basic infrastructure. You're putting out fires everywhere with crumbs. It's not. You can't fix the city unless you get more money.
The king has a cracker.
King has a cracker, and then the city of Niagara Falls. What happens is the state comes in and gives crumbs, a cracker, and then we split up that cracker and we argue amongst ourselves over that little Ritz cracker, what we're going to do with that. Everyone's mad about this. Well, I didn't get a bigger piece of the cracker. Like, they're gobbling up all the stuff.
They have the whole sleeve of Ritz
and
crackers.
they just give us one. It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's absolutely ridiculous, and nobody seems to address it. It's really bizarre,
It's status quo, whatever. You're
It's
living
really
your life.
shocking.
You've got other shit. Your kids have to get on the bus, and you pay your bill, and you live your life.
But people get mad
But
here. They
there's
get-
champions of the
People get
of
really
the-
mad here about
of the
stuff.
movement.
Yeah, people get real mad about stuff. Though,
There are
here.
people that do, but there are people that don't.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing the majority doesn't.
Yeah.
To the point where they're just complacent. I don't
think their anger is
I don't say
directed-
much. I pay
Yeah.
you know
I think
pay
their anger is
utility
misdirected
bill.
a lot of times to who they're mad at.
Right.
They're mad at the mayor, or they're mad at the city council, or they're mad at this person, but they don't
you're
have any
all in
money.
it together
They don't have any
because-
money to fix it anyway. Even if they wanted to,
Yeah.
they couldn't do it.
Right. They're doing their
there's
best
no
with the
money
crumbs.
to do this anyway.
Right.
I want a community center, but there's no money. Well, there's money, but who's going to pay the recurring revenue for that thing?
Yeah.
There's no money for this. The DPW's got to have this. Well, it's got to have this to fix it. These things need recurring revenue, and the state doesn't pay recurring revenue. What they do when they try to do to appease people here is they have goofy grant programs or this and that. They just don't do anything anyway. We have the Greenway Fund we give you, the power project. We'll build you a bike path. Okay, great. You should just do that anyway.
Which is nice.
It's nice, but it should just
Right.
be done anyway.
It's
and
the
also,
sprinkles on the cake, but you need the cake.
then you have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
The city needs this. Well, hopefully the Greenway will fund it. Just give us our money that we owe us.
Right.
Where's our equity?
Has anyone
Where's our
has there
fairness?
been a movement like this to ask prior, a big enough?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Just
if there's-
private citizens or maybe the politician here.
Leaders
and
aren't
there,
directed their attention at the state quite like this. Everyone's always kind of directed at the city council. They're like, we're going to get these people elected. And then they get in and they're in the same problem. Or you get this mayor in, same problem for that mayor. There's no money.
and this is going back to the beginning here. This is
Last 30, 40 years.
the basis of the documentary.
Basically, the documentary is basically the lack of funding and the lack of equity that we get from the state of New York, who controls the waterfront. They control the most valuable property and pay no property tax for it. Usually, in any city or municipality or anywhere, Waterfront property is usually prime property, prime real estate, and pays top dollar.
So
And
explain,
they pay
because
no
I
top
was
dollar.
confused earlier.
Yeah.
Of where, when you're saying waterfront property, I know along the gorge, in areas, but you're also the main section is from the 190 along the
So if you
Scenic
get off
Parkway, because we're not going to call
the
it
Scenic Parkway, the
Robert
Robert Moses
Moses.
Parkway, if you got off the Grand Island
Along.
Bridge, headed to Niagara Falls, and you do the loop, and go
Yeah.
onto the 190 bridge that every truck hits,
Yep.
that's where their property starts.
Pop out at the
Or if you made a left from
Buffalo
off
Ave.
Buffalo Avenue
Yep.
onto the Parkway,
Yep, right there.
that's owned by NIPA.
And I'm driving towards downtown, towards the casino. To the right of me are just burned out factories and rust belt
Yeah.
shit. To the left of me is what you're talking about as far as
is owned by the
waterfront
state.
property.
It's owned by the state.
And that's what you're saying.
From
And
the
when you
river
refer
to the back
waterfront
end of those
property.
factories is all owned by the state.
And I say also, on a separate note, the right-hand side, that's horrible. And there's 2 factories still
Yeah.
in functioning amongst 50, to me,
I don't-
that
yeah.
are rotting.
100%, but that's a different battle. That's
Yeah, that's
they
I
pay.
know,
They
that's a
do pay
whole-
property tax though.
Right.
It's privately
But
owned
that's a
property.
$1 billion federal
Yeah, and that'd be a
removal,
massive cleanup by the
remediation.
federal
Yeah,
government.
yeah.
But,
Well, you
but
can
the
dream.
thing though is,
A boy can dream.
though that section of property is paying property tax though.
Yeah.
The state of New York does not pay property tax. That's the thing; they don't pay.
Waterfront.
You
Landmark worldwide city.
and the thing is, this idea
Well,
is
they
not
won't
crazy.
even share like they won't even share like parking revenue.
Yeah,
Like they could at least share like revenue. They, you know,
Yeah.
it's one thing not to pay taxes, but and I say this to people all the time. Like there is not really, if you think of Niagara Falls, the actual waterfall itself, the city of Niagara Falls doesn't get a single penny directly from that attraction.
Yeah.
Anything we get is a support industry.
what's crazy though too, like
You know.
hotels are forced to pay bed tax. So when you stay in a hotel in Niagara County, the hotel tax on another fee, a bed tax, they have to collect, and you know they have that. But if you go on the Maid of the Mist, they don't have to collect a tax of any
Right.
sort that goes to anything. There's no amusement tax.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of why do you force a hoteler to add that onto his bill, but you don't force the Maid of the Mist or Cave of the Ones that don't pay an amusement tax? And then and also too, it's like this the things that we're bringing up. You know, with property tax, it's not foreign. The state already is paying property tax. State parks do pay property tax to host cities and other. There's about 8 municipalities that they're doing that with. Why
Yeah,
don't
so
they do
it's
it in
not a
Niagara
new,
Falls?
It's not a new concept.
Yeah, so
It's-
why is
it's
Letchworth
being
State Park?
done.
Why is Letchworth State Park paying property tax?
Right. That's
To that municipality. Why isn't Niagara Falls State Park paying property tax?
right.
Right?
Yeah.
How's that happening there?
And
but not
why?
happening
I mean,
here?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
How did
and
that
clearly the value of Niagara Falls State Park is a little bit more than
And Niagara Falls
Letchworth.
State Park funds every other state park throughout the whole entire
yes,
state.
exactly.
So why
Right.
are?
Yeah.
How is
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Up,
yeah.
It's very valuable. So why do they pay no taxes? You know.
Right.
And they own the entire Niagara Gorge.
Relying on old
They own Whirlpool
old
State Park?
signatures on documents from the early 60s or early 50s or something.
And then,
post
yeah,
World War
yeah.
II agreements and things. I mean, I'm not educated on it enough to
Yeah.
rebuttal, but who's disagreeing with you? Or you don't even know yet
I don't
because
even
you
know.
haven't
The documentary
you
hasn't
haven't
come
put
out
it
yet. You know, the
Okay.
documentary hasn't come out, and
Because
we'll see.
I have, I have friends and they have their own opinions. I have friends that work
Yeah.
for the state or work for the parks or work for NIPA that might have a rebuttal. And what would it be? I mean,
I don't know. The rebuttal is that
we
the
give
state-
enough already, or we do so much, and here you don't even know these. Here's a list of charities we give to, or community centers we fund that we don't even broadcast. So
I don't know.
I'm just playing the other side.
yeah.
I'm asking you the other side of
Yeah, I mean,
of how
they could
do
say
you
they
disagree?
Give, but it's
You
I
have
don't
to
know.
agree,
don't
even
know.
if you were disagreeing with a bulk of what you. I can't imagine disagreeing. But if you did,
could
there's still
disagree?
some that you could come on common ground on, and even common ground would still produce something
Yeah,
better
I don't
than
know.
never coming even on
I don't know
common
who in
ground.
the city of Niagara Falls would disagree that they think they should get more funding for all the projects that I listed prior. Like, who would be
But,
against that? Makes no sense.
It'd be interesting to see who.
And if they
comments
are,
on
if those anybody that is against it, means they're not in the best interest of the city of Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls has an accounting problem. That's what it really does. It's about money. It's like a business. it is a business essentially. It's a corporation. It's incorporated. It's like it's taking in tax revenue. It has all these expenses, but it doesn't have enough tax revenue, property tax revenue, to fund these expenses. So it's bleeding money.
And people are infighting, or people will infight in a way with City Hall, but you're under the same umbrella of resident or a work you work
what are you
in,
over?
or
Crumbs?
yeah, right.
And I think it has a bigger problem too. I mean, people always say, and I saw somebody post today about how they can't get good people to run for office.
I saw.
Well, who the hell wants to run for office and become a city council member or
and just get
person,
chastised for 4 years
get
or
crushed
how many
because
2 years?
You can't fix it anyway.
Yeah, take a beating for
There's no
some
money
headlines.
For it.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I can't get the
I've-
tree
I've-
fixed in front of your house because there's no
I like
money.
to take the common approach to it.
There's
Like,
no money.
I'm a regular
Sorry,
dude
bro.
that lives in Niagara County or Niagara Falls or town of Niagara, and I have a house. I have a lawn that I cut and I weed whack and I plant my shit to make it look good. And I pick up, if I see a cigarette pack on my lawn, I pick it up. And there's people that don't do that shit, man. There's people that, how much more can you give me?
I think there's such a
and they're the ones that are eating Burger King, tossing shit out the window. You have to also get them on board. I mean, that's a lot of people in the
I think
in the
that
city.
kind of weeds those people out when you're going to start attracting people to want to live here. When you start knocking down vacant, when you start knocking vacant buildings
I'm all
down.
for whatever that is. I mean, I'm there might be you might say that that's a negative slant on it, like you're trying to squeeze people out. No, I'm just saying I want people that care for it, that go outside and pick up the shit on their front lawn.
Yeah.
You have tourists walking past your house because you live near the falls. Make your yard like we should be a welcoming,
Well, I mean, I always say too,
put some effort forth.
When the city, you say, well, the city doesn't care, or when the city looks so run down, it's easy then for the private citizen to feel the same way. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I had the same attitude here and I threw something on the ground here, I wouldn't care because no one else cares. And if I were if I'm in Lewiston, I'm not going to throw it on the ground because I'm going to look like the jerk.
Yeah.
Where here, if you drive down some of these residential streets and you see a burned out vacant building that's been there for years and hasn't been knocked down because the city doesn't have funding to knock it down, it's gonna beat you up over time.
You better grow some thicker skin if you're going to drive from LaSalle go down into downtown and drive through and see those historical houses, the architecture and everything crumbling and the shit, and you're like, motherfucker, man, like, come on, man. And that's what drives you to or someone to run for office and get involved because they want to make a change, but
there's no money to fix it.
Stifled.
There's no money to fix it. There's no money to fix any of this.
I got an interesting point that I read years ago, and it was an interesting article, and it was looking at the decay of Niagara Falls, and one of the things that the article really focused on was another way that we got screwed by the state. Was everybody talks about when the city was at its highest population, 120,000, whatever the heck it was. It's like, but that was never a realistic long-term population because at that time you had a great number of people that you didn't have housing.
Immigrants coming in to work.
You had housing because the amount of people that were living here for 5 to 10 years to build a power authority. So the city was artificially grown in size.
Right.
Because you needed infrastructure for all these workers. And Niagara Falls bear the brunt of it. Plus you had the air base, plus you had the plants. Yeah. But when Sholkoff collapsed, those industries knew that they weren't staying long in Niagara Falls because they knew the free power was gone. So that was one of those, and that whole article talked about that not only the Sholkoff collapse, but the building of the power authority was a double penalty because all of a sudden the city had to now you need you need enough houses for 110,000 people, and now we don't need that. We need probably less than half of that.
And the businesses that spring up because of it now are
so now we have this huge infrastructure for a city that we don't have a population to support either.
Yeah.
Right. But it should have that population because of the natural landmark we have and the popularity of it and the worldwide acclaim and the 8 million people every year tourism.
And it's hard to attract people to want to live here or start businesses, and when the infrastructure is so beat up, when you're not investing in economic development, you're not investing in your tourism industry, You're not fixing basic things. I mean, any developer that comes here is driving through the cities going, I don't know. No matter how much government subsidy,
You have to have vision.
I'm going to give you this for the building.
Right.
Why would you invest there? There's so many problems here. It can be
fixed.
It doesn't look like a winner.
It can be fixed.
You know, it can be fixed if you fix things up. People are attracted to where things look cleaned up. They look like things are going in the right direction. And a lot of things here don't look like they're going in the right direction. And it's not necessarily because of, this mayor did this or this mayor did that. I mean, I've lived here now for 2 mayors, and I believe both in their heart want to fix the city of Niagara Falls. I don't think they want this place to be in shambles.
Right, if you're going to put that much effort into
becoming the mayor and take the beatings you take
that's what I'm
from
saying,
the population here, there's no money to fix stuff.
I was in 7-Eleven, or at the time it was Wilson Farms, in line. It was like a Sunday morning. I was grabbing a paper or whatever, and Mayor Gailey was in line. Yeah. And I didn't recognize him at first until someone said, "Hey, Mayor, hey, how's it going? Good morning." He goes, "Hey, what? Why my leaves aren't picked up yet? I called 3 times." And he goes, "All right, what's your name?" And I go, "Oh God, I would not want to deal with that. I'm just going to get a loaf of bread."
Yeah, I mean,
like, you're taking an ass beating. So you have passion. You have to admire that as much as someone, even like us busting lackeys' balls.
Maybe his time was a little easier. I mean, times where that was the golden age.
But you still putting in 60, 70 hours a week.
It's got to be tough to be the mayor or a city council member in a town like this.
Yeah.
There's so many problems. Nobody's coming up here saying everything's going great for me. Everyone's got to bitch. Everyone's got to complain.
I mean, it's a good paying job these days, but it's
for the
locally.
Jeez.
Right.
It's a beating.
The ass beating you're getting.
It doesn't matter what side you're on the aisle, you're taking a beating. Everyone's got to complain. Mm-hmm. Everyone's got something they're mad about.
As a politician, you're running for city council. Yeah. And even I was on the appeals board for City of Niagara Falls, and they'd come to Main Street, and they had to they'd attend the meetings, and you're trying to do good for the community, and you're getting your balls busted. And it's like, I'm just like volunteering, and eventually we made, I don't even know what it was. It was enough for a pizza a year. They gave us a little stipend. It was maybe $20 a meeting. But this is not worth it. Getting chastised and hang him because he voted this way or said yay or nay. I don't need this. I'm trying to help. I'm out.
And a lot of times too,
it's
a
no-win situation.
We're finding out. I mean, the more people we interview, the more the story starts to formulate, and we hear some more stories, or we hear this point of view, or this and that, and it starts to kind of shape itself. When we first started making this, I wouldn't say the state of New York was definitely property tax wasn't on our radar. We were saying that we know the state's taking advantage of this situation, but we don't know exactly to the extent of what is going on. And we kind of started hearing more opinions about it, and we're like, you know what?
The
thesis is morphed into what this is, but it's something that has happened. People say, well, how could they have let this go on for so long? And what's interesting is that a lot of the public sentiment is that the politicians in New York State does not care about Niagara Falls. It's almost everybody we've interviewed, private citizen, says the same thing, which kind of shows in this thing. But it's also how are these politicians allowing this? And somebody brought up an interesting point of these people are just being co-opted or given patronage jobs, so they don't really rock the boat or press the buttons for the community because their own personal interests are being fulfilled, so they don't really bring up these things. They don't really.
I'm not riled up about it because I'm.
Well,
cool.
I got everyone. Cool. My family got jobs at power plant,
I'm cool.
So I'm all right with that. I'm not gonna complain about the power authority when I got a bunch of relatives jobs there. I'm not gonna complain about New York State Parks when I got $100,000 a year job there.
Don't rock the boat.
And I think that's what's gone on. Maybe I think even people that have tried to rock the boat got co-opted and said, well, don't bring this up. We're going to get you this or this and that. Yeah. And they just kind of drop it. And I don't have no one's going to give me a government job. I don't even have a college degree. I don't think I even qualify for these jobs.
You're looking out for the greater good.
It's also a greater good. And it's also a story that needs to be told. People, unfortunately, even in Western New York, everyone thinks Niagara Falls is just a complete shithole. Everyone thinks it's filled with idiots and crazy people, and that's not the case. Yeah. There's a lot of really good, hardworking people here, creative people, innovative people. Absolutely. And we're constantly being gaslit like we're the crazy people. Meanwhile, all of our resources are taken. And even in Buffalo, I mean, Buffalo's in the same boat a bit. You know, Buffalo's got some resurgence, but who owns their waterfront? State of New York. Erie Canal Harbor Development owns the outer harbor and canal side. They don't pay property tax. Say that in Buffalo, New York right now is what, a $15 million budget problem deficit?
They'll watch the documentary, follow suit.
I mean, look at Youngstown. Who owns their waterfront? Fort Niagara. Who owns that? You know, look at Lewiston. Who owns their waterfront?
So
our park. Who owns our park?
You may be onto something.
Who owns their waterfront?
When can we expect
the
documentary?
Who pays the bills there? You know.
When is this? When can we see
the documentary?
This
You know, it's progressing. I would say we hit a stone wall in the beginning because I'll admit a lot of politicians or elected officials did not want to be interviewed. They were we sent formal letters, certified letters to them, very formal things asked for their to be interviewed for this. And they kind of shoved us off a bit. The first person that wanted to be interviewed, honestly, was the mayor of elected officials. So he was very on board with this. Now we're getting state assemblyman Angelo Mornello is going to be interviewed just today. Senator Ort finally agreed to be interviewed. You know, we reached out to our Congress people. You know, Kennedy. We want to interview him. We reached out to Chuck Schumer. You know, he's so powerful. You know, what he's got to say about this? They don't want to be interviewed. Was it Gillibrand? We reached out to her office. Does not want to be interviewed.
Let me ask you this: who all is on board, and maybe leaning towards backing? Is there anybody like you said?
With the documentary,
you interviewed already Ort or you're.
Yeah, I mean, I would say of citizens or elected officials in that. I mean, we haven't interviewed some of the state officials yet. I think they were kind of reluctant to get interviewed, it seemed. Some of the other ones we haven't even heard from, so I don't know what.
And this is in the progression of production, so
yeah,
could be months ahead that will.
I would say a lot of regular citizens seem to be very interested or intrigued by what's going to come out of this documentary, and
makes sense.
And I don't know who in Niagara Falls as a resident, community activist or city council person, why they would be against getting more funding for the city government or for things that could potentially fix roads, or who would be against that?
Like you said, but the complacent because of my cousin works for, or
and I think the people. I think
it's easy. That's the easy. Yeah. It's easy.
I think the difference now with this story, what we're showing is like, I'm not a person that can be. It's not really much you can give me. I'm an entrepreneurial person. I don't even have to live here. I could do very well somewhere else. Like I'm not. My job isn't catered to the government here. I'm not getting a pension. Like I don't work.
You're not
I don't work for the school.
Policy.
You can't lean on me. I don't work for the state of New York. Like, what are you gonna do? Shut my business down? If you do, I could go do it somewhere else.
Right. Adapt.
It's elsewhere. The story is. It's kind of a big story. I think it needs to be told, and I think it could really help the city of Niagara Falls get the ball moving in the right direction, because it's a funding problem.
We're all on the same mission. Yeah. No one wants to see it fail, right?
Yeah, it's.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I think if it does, I think the documentary is gonna be good. I think it'd be interesting to see what comes out of it. When it comes out and just how people receive it. And I think it's not a bashing of Niagara Falls. That's one thing when we first started making this we're not bashing the city of Niagara Falls. We're going to show it for what it is. We're not going to hide the vacant buildings and this and that. We're not going to, but we're not bashing that. We're defending.
Yeah, why piss anybody off?
We're
that
defending
wants to
the
move
city
here.
of Niagara Falls.
They move here and then all of a sudden see what is going on and go, oh, I was tricked into even like
it's not, we're not sugarcoating this place. It is gritty.
Be honest, because there is awesome. The awesome, I would say, outweighs the bad. I'm optimistic about it.
There's a lot of people that live here that think you should only showcase the good. Like, why are you bringing this up? Like,
but let's get real. Let's get real.
Exactly. Let's get real. I live here. I moved here. I'm not originally from here. I started a business here. I do very well here. But I'm not just going to show that story, because there's a lot more to. There's a lot of bad here that needs to be fixed.
You can see it. You can drive. That's like I said. Drive down and you'll see it.
Yeah, you can't fucking hide it. It's insane. If
You can find the awesome pockets and the nice
Yeah.
areas because you will see those.
Yeah.
But you're also driving through some shit. And even like the way the city's laid out is like you're in one part of town, LaSalle actually.
Yeah.
You go over a dump, you drive
Yeah.
past a dump, it looks like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
And the
the whole
sidewalks are
half
big
the
shit.
city, and then you get downtown. And it's like you're driving.
Yeah.
We're interrupted
Yeah.
there. There's a division,
And it's-
and the Robert Moses, and all
Yeah.
the impediments to prosperity. So
And it's crazy because the city actually is laid out. It's a really well laid out city. We have a lot of advantage to it if it was actually cleaned up and fixed up. Like it's, I rode a lot of
Streamlined
times
and-
this summer. I rode a lot of electric bike downtown. I'm not one of these guys that lives in Niagara Falls. Like I won't go there. I'm scared. I'm gonna
Oh
be
yeah,
shot.
I
Like,
love going.
I ride all
I
over
like-
Niagara Falls.
I
I'm
love to
not-
explore.
I'm not scared to go into
Right.
a rough, rundown neighborhood. It
Right.
doesn't scare me. So I ride around a lot of the city. Me and my wife will. And honestly, you can get, from even like Mr. M's, I could shoot downtown to the library easy and get to downtown Niagara Falls pretty quickly on an electric bike, like in 15 minutes.
Right.
You could shoot around the town. And they have the nice bike pass they did put on Ferry Avenue and Walnut Avenue. People, this is terrible. They're putting these in. Actually,
Oh yeah,
it's a great amenity.
it's
I
hard to get
thought.
adjusted, but I like it. It makes
It's a great
sense as
amenity.
you're driving.
Honestly,
by.
especially
Yeah.
like if in the world of we're moving into electric things,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a town like this that has a lot of poverty, people can't afford
Yeah,
cars.
it's
It'd be nice if people did get.
forward thinking.
Hopefully, they moved out of the hooking up the gas weed whacker engines on their bicycles and actually get electric bikes. But it would be it's really nice
that
to get
works
around,
too.
man. I'll tell you what.
Right,
I get
inventive.
around in the summer all the time on an electric bike, man.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of great things about it, but there's no denying the problems that are here and why those problems exist. And it is the lack of funding that the city of Niagara Falls just does not have. And it's, unless you want to fire a bunch of police officers and firefighters and close firehouses, the funding, the budget where it's going is going to it. And there needs more money. You can't just lay off firefighters and police officers and DPW workers.
Yeah.
It's not going to fly here. You're
Right.
not going to get
It's
elected
not
in office.
gonna-
It's just not going to happen.
and that's not going to make anyone happy.
No, so you're going to
also,
have to get
so-
more funding. And who's got all the money? The state of New York does.
Man, to
So you
be-
need to start going after who's got the gold.
Yeah,
And the state has the gold.
it's like what's it, Daffy Duck or one of them? It's mine,
Yeah.
on top of the big ass mound of gold.
Yeah.
Gold coins.
And it's crazy that anyone says they don't have the money. I mean, the Power Authority in 2022 brought in $4.1 billion. And how much did they give the city of Niagara Falls? 0.
Right.
How much is how much the state of the New York Niagara Falls State Park funds all the other state parks? They also fund a lot of jobs that are probably overpaid. I mean, how many people are they funding in six figures, made up title of the state parks? I mean, how many directors do they have?
Ooh.
We're going to go into that. We're going to bring up these things. How many are
Gaelan.
making over six figures?
Right. No, but you're going to touch on subjects that are going to piss people off.
Well, a lot of them don't live in
but
the city of
you're-
Niagara Falls either. They don't live in the city of Niagara Falls, and they don't vote here. They don't pay property tax here. They say they care about here, but you don't even live here. How do you make where do you spend your six-figure salary? Not in the city of Niagara Falls. I don't see
And
it here.
you're going to get that's where you'll butt heads because people care. They don't live here, but don't
they
tell
care.
me.
If you
Don't tell me
care-
I don't. I don't have to live in
You know,
your city to care about
It's
it.
funny. I started a business in the city of Niagara Falls before I lived here, and then I moved here because I cared that much about it. That's why I moved here.
Well, don't tell me that I don't care.
Well, you know what?
Don't
you took your beatings.
tell me
You took your beatings.
that I
Well, you're in the
don't
town
care.
of Niagara. You're
Oh, I
still-
wasn't even really talking about me, but now
Oh,
that you're
you-
saying that, that's pretty funny. Yeah, right. Don't fucking tell me,
You know what? You're in
asshole.
a charter school. You son of
Yeah,
a bitch.
yeah. Don't
School
tell me.
choice?
We'll talk about this some other time. Yeah, where do you send your kids?
They go to charter school.
Dude, thanks for stopping by again. Let me ask you.
man. Yeah.
We'll go on the lighter side.
Yeah.
What's the Super Bowl prediction?
Oh, the
Whether
Chiefs-
you are boycotting it or not
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever.
Taylor Swift will win her three-peat. She's gonna get it. Taylor Swift's getting.
Swifties. What
Taylor
is it gonna
Swift's getting
be?
it, and I'm not watching.
Give
I'm
me
done.
a score prediction.
I think it's gonna be kind of low. I think it's gonna be 24-17.
Kansas City.
Oh yeah, Kansas
Rich.
City's winning.
What do you got, Rich?
What are we talking about?
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
What are you doing?
What's
over
that?
There?
Hey,
What are
you
you
just
paying
doing your
attention
job.
to, you prick?
I'm
attention to
kidding.
the
I'm only watching. Kendrick Lamar's the winner, man. That's all I care about is
Yeah.
the half.
Really?
I
I'll
normally
watch that.
hate the halftime show. This is the
Yeah.
only time I've ever cared about the halftime show because I just want to watch
Yeah.
Kendrick.
I like
that's
Kendrick Lamar, too,
That's.
and-
I mean,
I'll
I've
watch it
never,
after, though.
I've
So much
never
so that
watched the
you're not gonna
halftime show
even
before
take a
because I
guess
hate
at
it.
the-
But this year, I'm excited for the Kendrick Lamar.
I'm gonna
halftime
watch.
show.
I'll
Good.
watch it after the fact. I'll be able to
Yeah.
watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. My wife wanted to have a puppy bowl party,
But I'm
like just
not.
Puppy Bowl.
She just wanted to watch puppy bowl,
This
so
year,
I
I'd
don't,
rather.
you know.
That's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm
We are
just
actually
going
gonna
off
watch
script,
it.
and I'm saying the Eagles are going to win because I think Barkley's going to have. I think Barkley's going to have a great game.
I'm hoping that.
If he doesn't have a good game, Philly's got no chance. But if he has a good game, we'll see.
Yeah.
What's your score? Just to see after.
I think he's right. It's going to be a very low scoring game, and I would probably something like 21-17 or 22-17 or
Eagles.
something like that. Eagles, yeah.
I'll go 31-28 Eagles as my official one. Just I'm hoping, but if I was a betting man, I'd say Kansas City. Might as well just go with it. Why
the refs are
Why
gonna
am
be
I
in their
trying to
favor.
deny it? I'd say they're not going to win this game, and they keep on winning. And I go, they're not going to win this game. Oh, nope. So
I mean,
yeah,
it
let's
could
give
go
to 'em.
opposite where the game is so in favor of the Eagles because now, I mean, the NFL is really backpedaling with this whole.
The
we're
referee.
not in favor of them. There's that. I mean, I tell you what, I've always kind of thought like they kind of like screw the over under a lot. Seems like that weird penalty would happen. They kick a field goal, even though it might
Yeah.
not change the outcome of the
A
who wins or
safety or
loses,
some
but
weird
it would
shit.
change the over under. But that last game, I don't know, man. I could be very biased because I'm a Bills fan, but I don't know. He got that first. Kincaid got the first down. It shouldn't even come to 4th and 1. And in the 4th and 1, in the overhead view, man, he's over that line.
It should have
He's over
been.
it.
You shouldn't have come down to that. That should. But
There was
it
a
did,
face
but
masking that
whatever.
wasn't called. It was the interception reception that hit the ground that shouldn't have been
Swifties,
on the 5-yard line.
Swifties.
There were a lot of calls in favor of the
It's
Chiefs
gonna
big
go
time, man.
Super Bowl. The Taylor Swift influence. Let's
100%.
see. Let's check it out. Next time we'll talk about it. Next time on Niagara Stuff.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching
having
and
me.
subscribe and what do they say? Share, subscribe, and all the above.
That's good.
Peace. Thanks, man.